They're not out of this ball game by any stretch with all the different tire strategies we're watching.
John Hunter Nemechek and Corey Heim on that front row for the restart. Oh, and the two KBM trucks, big contact. The 17 of David Gilliland in that as well. Austin Hill goes around.
And they're still piling in.
Zane Smith, another good truck in that 21. Heavy contact, and there is Nemechek. Wow, the two KBM trucks restarting on the front row, and I don't know if it was so much of them having contact between the two of them, but the help that was coming from behind them that was creating an issue.
Yeah, sometimes you can't afford for someone to help you. And when you're battling side by side and someone's into your tailgate, we'll have to take another look at it. But I didn't see any crazy dives from Heim or John Hunter. They just got together somehow, probably a push from behind.
Yeah, these guys are getting really aggressive on these restarts, and I think it was just a push, Michael. When we see the replay, I'm sure that's what happened.
Frustrating for so many drivers because there were a lot of good trucks involved in that one.
I kind of like the position Hocevar was in, Vince. Had to come back in pit road and wound up restarting 25th, and the wreck was, I mean, it might have included some of the trucks, some of the trucks that were in the top 20.
Isn't that the way the sport works, though? I mean, you have a bad break, and it ultimately puts you in a position that ends up being a good break. And sometimes it's just the other way around. But some heavy repairs going to be done here on this 4 truck of John Hunter Nemechek. And here are the replays of that restart and how it all began. So that's Nemechek on the front row outside, Corey Heim front row inside.
Yeah, it's hard to say what was happening behind them, right, Greg, with all the pushing?
It's so hard. You got those brand new tires. I think that the top 4 that stayed out just couldn't get the power down, and I think that everybody just started pushing.
And you can see the 16's into the back of the 4, and that turns him, maybe see John Hunter correcting to the left and right, trying to keep control, and they just come together.
I think Friesen was on the back bumper of Corey Heim, and maybe Friesen was getting some help from behind from the 99 of Ben Rhodes.
Look at Johnny Sauter in that 13 truck. He slips by, and then after that, the track is blocked.
Dawson Cram involved in that. Chandler Smith.
Grant Enfinger.
Yep.
That looked like Talladega.
I couldn't agree more.
Let's ride with John Hunter Nemechek.
Listen for tire spin.
On you tight. Keep going here. Got them coming up. Get up to the top. Yellow's out. Yellow's out. Left front's down. Easy. Easy. Yeah, I got damage here. Hold on.
Ride with Sheldon Creed.
Top lane stacking hard here. Stacking hard. No wrecking. No wrecking. No wrecking. Check up. Check up. Check up. Check up. Check up. Staying at bottom. Staying at bottom.
Look at that. I feel the same way, Sheldon. That was awesome.
You know, that avoiding the mishap there could be the difference in winning this race tonight.
Well, I mean, the
near misses.
Yeah, and
Hey, the Spring League game with the Blues taking on the Sea Lions is starting now on FS2. So if you have tuned in for some spring football, switch over to FS2 for the Spring League game, Blues and the Sea Lions, and they'll come back here to FS1 at the conclusion of our race.
Yeah,
but,
this is
it's going to get exciting here before the end. I wouldn't switch from here.
It's full contact racing. We're going to see a lot of hits. Making a plan there. They can look at the truck while the red flag's out, but you can't work on it. So the teams are just figuring out what they need to do to get back on the road.
You like going red here to keep from running off laps?
100%. It's just a tough situation to be able to be this late in the race, differing strategies that we talked about and just riding around under caution. I love what NASCAR has done here.
Yep, I would agree.
Yeah, they have a lot of cleanup down there in turn 1. Probably wouldn't need to blow that off. They probably have a lot of, debris on the metal on the racetrack.
It looks like there's about as many of them down in turn 1 that are crashed than that are left.
Dawson Cram being taken back to the garage on the hook. There's Zane Smith in the 21 truck. Again, team evaluating the damage, and Haley Deegan involved in that. I think there were about as many involved in it that weren't involved in it. Ryan Reed in the 24.
Tyler, you were like, stay with it, stay in it, stay in it. I mean, I didn't have a choice. My rear tires were off the ground. I was getting pushed, but that was one of the more interesting restarts I've been a part of. Yeah, definitely.
I agree. Interesting would be one word to describe it. Chaotic, crazy, but we've seen this type of pushing and shoving. Let's see, Biff, let's look and see who's left. We saw Johnny Sauter slip through, but you can see Ben Rhodes had some issues on pit road. He's up front. There's Stuart Friesen. Reed, we just heard from. Ryan Truex involved in a mess earlier. He's up and toward the front. So these are all guys we haven't talked a whole lot about being in the front. All of them experience some sort of issues here and there, but survival of the fittest a lot of times is what you wind up with here at Darlington.
Absolutely. These guys, and a lot of these guys are the ones that took tires. There's Matt Crafton with tire, donuts all over his truck. A little bit of wrinkled up in the front, but he may be still in this thing. But I like Stuart Friesen. Those guys have been fast. And we'll have to see if they can fix John Hunter Nemechek's truck. Looked like just the left front fender, but if they had any suspension damage or splitter, you just never know who's going to be left in this thing that's fast. There's a lot of fast trucks, but we'll see who comes out of it.
Well, the Kyle Busch Motorsports trio have dominated, been right up front all race long. Dominated has John Hunter, and Corey Heim and company were right there with them. There you see what's happened to John Hunter. See how much damage Chandler Smith has in the 18.
Yeah, we've talked a lot about John Hunter and Corey Heim as well, but I think it's been the best run of the season for Chandler Smith also, and they needed that 18 to pick it up, and he has done that tonight at arguably the toughest track on the circuit.
Yeah, he started a little slow at Kansas and got some momentum toward the end of that race as well. So you're right, Vince, riding up front, but then winding up tore up. You can go home, Biff, you know this, you can go home and say, well, at least we were running good even though we got a tore up truck.
Yeah, that happens a lot, but it's some, it does give you a little bit of confidence going to the next race.
Jamie Little.
Certainly a lot of chatter on the radio trying to jump around and hear the different teams. John Hunter Nemechek in the 4 said, what the heck, I was just pushed too hard by the 16 and it pushed us right into our teammate, the 51. Corey Heim in the 51 just keeps asking, is there anything I could have done differently? I feel terrible what happened. They keep telling him it was not your fault. There was nothing you could have done differently. Meanwhile, the 16 of Austin Hill, they told him that John Hunter was trying to be a hero and spun his tires, and that's what led to all this. So there's a lot of chatter going on.
Well, I couldn't agree more with the Corey Heim and that team saying I couldn't have done anything different. The front row did their job. They just got pushed, and that's what they do in the trucks. They push, they shove, and sometimes it pushes you in the wrong direction.
Chaos at the track, too tough to tame. The final stage, less than 30 to go at Darlington.